They were down below when it came all the way down to the war, where there's like a couple chests down there off that kind of northeast side there. A little bit of loot to work with, but when you had so many teams like Refsguard and Scram yesterday that was fighting them off spawn repeatedly, they were just struggling left, right, and center. It was just, let's be real, it's pretty horrible off spawn overall. So this time seems to go better.
Yeah, you talk about the struggle as well. You talk about off spawn. I mean, talk to me about how a game like this looks. If there's these many more teams alive, we bring in Storm Surge into the equation. Is it worse, easier because there's more teams alive to maybe get picks on? How does it change?
I mean, it's a really interesting dynamic between teams who are competitive and aren't. Remember, like, victory royale's all that matters so far, okay? So, well, not all that matters. In game one, let's be real, it matters significantly more than everything else. We're doing the victory royale into all the slot. So, for in games like this, right, teams that we've just seen their contestant crazy, for example, or Below, they've got a ton of their surge already. Now, unfortunately, it's a max distance zone for them, so they kind of go all the way from northwest to southeast, it seems like, which is a little bit rough. But for a lot of the other teams, they're going to be panicking. They're going to be struggling right now because what we've seen so far until it with the 4 teams here, no tags, nothing at all, no damage, just basically just harvesting, getting whatever they can so far. So there's going to be teams right now who are shaking, who are really nervous, whereas some of the other teams like Crazy hopefully are going to be a little bit more confident with the damage that they've already managed to get off spawn.
Oh, very nice. But past that, once these teams starts moving, right, I'm picturing either kid in a candy shop. There's lots of options to choose from, right? That could be a potential for the whole lobby. Or are we kind of looking at that, or maybe more of a, you know, last minute trying to get onto the train, but the whole city is going to one concert, so the trains are kind of full, and there's not that much room to move. Which side is it kind of more leaning towards?
So here's the thing, right? Think about this like a school assignment, you know?
Yeah.
Procrastination is the uttermost thing you want to avoid here. Think about it like me. If I'm doing a uni assignment back in the day, I'm up late night, last minute, and I'm not doing anything before that. Somehow I may still pass if I'm lucky, somehow I may not. Right here, you're seeing teams who are doing studying. It's 2 weeks before the exam. They're studying, they're putting it in, they're getting their damage off early. Whereas there's other teams in the lobby who we've seen multiple times across the weekend, procrastinated, jumping straight in a box at the end when it matters, 50-50 and hoping for the best.
True. And to put it like that, then that makes a lot more sense. And don't procrastinate. That's kind of lesson Reese's, you know, preaching right here. Just get your damage stacks, play correctly, find a hill somewhere, preferably not next to Mr. J. or Wolfie that we're looking at right now, because these guys are, I don't know, procrastinating 2 weeks or like all inning at the start of the assignment. You know what I mean? Like they're kind of crazy with it. They're not taking it easy. 2 hours per day. They're looking to finish the project day one. Yeah, this is kind of nuts, and they're still looking, still just kind of bent on pushing this fight. His entire box is half wood as well. Krusty, Relvis, they don't want anything to do with this.
On. This is a slow game. This is probably one of, if not the slowest EU game I've ever seen. And I think one of the reasons we've got to put that down to is the fact that you've cut a lot of the tier 1-ist, the top of the top teams out of the lobby so far. And now the teams you're getting is the tier 2s, tier 3, some of the best players in the region, but still some of the players who aren't as comfortable in a game like this. They're not going to be ones who are going to be super aggressive like the Taysons and the Thomas HDs, because sometimes they're not as comfortable just taking those fights. As we see in the Elipede Pena, a guy who was extremely comfortable taking those fights in qualifier number 1, jumping straight into Chico's box there. And we'll see exactly what Swift Wolfie is doing.
Seems like Chico has had the complete unfortunate end of every stick from day number 1 over and over and over again. It's just, you know, someone diving into their box time after time after time after time. Now we look at Wolfie and Mr. J getting a little bit of an advantage, but still not all ending. I think everyone's kind of understanding that, you know, with these many more teams alive, there's an even higher chance of a third party. There's a hill you might not be used to having, you know, occupation on, just rolling in and then just, you know, getting an angle you wouldn't expect at all onto a fight. So we'll see exactly what's good. Krusty and Relvis are going to be looking at what to do from their box for the moment. Flying in and around the map, we have Kong as well. Jonker Speedway is looking busier than usual. Highway gates, or highway lanes, should I say, excuse me, are also kind of traffic jammy overall on this side. And this is one of the most aggressive POVs that we saw in recent... differences at this POI.
This fight has been messy. Messy. A POI that's been consistently rotated into from every team around. We know the fight's going on over and over again between Clement's team, who's obviously dipped out right now. And we see this kind of repeating yet again. We've got the Kondo teams who are pulling on in. We've got the teams who dropped here to start with. It's just been a mess day after day, qualifier after qualifier. And, you know, honestly, for today and all the way up for the finals, it seems like this POI is just going to be a mess on this region forever from my side.
I feel like in the finals it might get a little bit better because then someone maybe has a little bit of control, but even then it just feel like we're watching better teams go at it. You know what I mean? Like it'll just be more back and forth.
Yeah, it'll be the same stuff as always. This is the team that we just talked about who left that rotation. So far seems to be working out well for them, given the fact that they ended up switching up to Camp Cuddle from that drop spot. And, you know, we often saw them not coming off spawn, but here we go. Here's that first map, fully down to the south. The second zone is pulled to a really awkward area of the map. You can see there's barely any teams in here to start with, just purely given the pure southness of how far that zone is going.
There's barely anything there in the zone at all. I don't see trees even spawned in naturally. I don't even see hills. It's like we're playing on a creative island entirely. I'm not sure who that even benefits, but with everyone having to move, Reese, that's less match overall. With nothing being there in terms of big buildings, there's less to farm as well. There's less to do in general. If you make a little bit of a mistake, it might be even more visible to most teams. What I'm seeing right now, though, is strength from Clement and Floki on the screen. I haven't really seen these two in this much control, landing damage tag after damage tag in this fashion at all. It might be, you know, the amount of teams that are alive right now and their spot, and maybe the zone has kind of blessed them because everyone does have to move past them. It seems so easy, right? Just a few steps. You're right there in Greasy Grove. You're in the zone, but Floki and Clement, they'll have a toll for you on that bridge.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're set up to do, right? Notice the timing of this that's really nice. They set up early, the teams start to spray around them. They got a bunch of tags there. What was it, 100, 120, maybe 150 damage? Now they're on the rotate. We saw there was almost no teams in the second zone already. So what you're probably going to do is do the exact same thing. Hold people at the gates yet again, get a couple tags, stagger, and then move even further south again. Repeat until they're basically potentially on the dead side and above Storm Surge.
A lot of the times these vehicles help these teams with that pattern, accelerate their gameplay to a certain standpoint, you know, from the in-between. I feel like that's where most of the mistakes happen when you're going from point A to point B. That's where you get kind of bogged down. So Adrena Flowis, I mean, they kind of struggled with even the vehicle gameplay yesterday. It feels like they
I mean, yeah, their off-spawn was rough, but then their mid-games, if they got off-spawn, weren't being better at all. Right now, it seems to be exactly what we're witnessing. That little late rotation. All those other teams who managed to get up ahead of them. The teams who rotate behind them now get the spray. And look at the material range at this point. Flowis was on 140, already down to 85. And Drea's probably using the fun as well. The HP started to go away as well. They have rotary, I was going to say up the hill there, but also the Floki effect. The fact that they got in before everyone else, they can get those tags off, and they can be the ones damaging the rest of the lobby and getting ahead. And Flowis for POV now, it's like, now they have to get around. That's just changed it so fundamentally for their game plan.
Yeah, and you can see a few wood builds coming out from Flowis as well, back and forth. Might not mean too much, but in the grand scheme of things, if the zone keeps pulling certain ways, if teams are looking for certain angles and you see a whole metal box with one wood wall, it's a big weakness, and sometimes you forget about it. It can be exploited.
We've seen a lot of weird stuff over there.
To run out of stamina faster. I'm not sure if it is the sand, if it is the sun that's kind of glaring through their scopes in their eyes, but these guys start to run. They start to get a little bit more lethargic. Even watching Flowis and Adrena take a few more shots while trying to base up, it never happens anywhere else on the map.
Yeah, everyone gets a little dry, right? They use a ton of their materials earlier on. The problem is because a lot of the sight lines are really open. There's specific hills that you can sit on to jump in boxes exactly like this as well.
What am I watching?
Mr. J and Wolfie, I'm not entirely sure this is what we exactly talked about, but it's gone round to Wolfie and Mr. J, who've lost now to Boofing and Bevies as well. I thought that was 100% going to go down to the way of Mr. J, but he was not.
I think Mr. J had like a comedy special open on the other screen or something, started laughing and his aim went all wonky. That's still an explanation I can come up with, because there's no way Melby should have survived that long. He's like, what, 30 HP against 2 players? Meanwhile, look at some of those day one story still rolling in. Vortexia and Casper, you watch their entire graduating class basically move on to the next stage of life when it goes to the finals. They're still here, Reese. They've been aggressing so many different duels. They're still playing that type of role, and I think it's going to be even more dangerous now with so many players still alive in this lobby.
Yeah, game one, they failed, and in all honesty, they're struggling at this part of the game in every single season so far. The Storm Surge has been an issue for them. They've been a team who's been taking fights every time, and that game was absolutely no different. This has been significantly more stacked than every other one. In the lobby, going down the bottom right, and Drea and Flo are still up in this taking engagement, getting the refresh that we talked about. Was all the way back up there. Like, that is that moment panic sets in almost. Once Storm Surge comes active, the players start jumping in who have procrastinated.
Swell, you definitely don't want to be late, and even judging by the way teams are still just boxing up, not taking free tags on anyone else, I just see fear across the entire town of this lobby. It feels like I'm watching a big Gotham City, you know what I mean? This just looks like scared citizens left and right. They have no idea what happened right now. It's just tough overall for everyone, just stuck at the right side of the zone, completely not even moving in whatsoever. I get it's very tough. Always find a little bit of a pocket of just perfect timing. They get to move in, but if there's a team I can pick out that ends up taking damage, making maybe one error with a build, it's this one. And so far, they are fixing up those mistakes. They're getting right in, using Rotary's vehicle as a distraction. It looks good. And trying to finally in with Lois, and they have a refarm as well. Looking like they've kind of picked their game back up.
Yeah, you can see the kind of chain effect of the rotations earlier.
The one where like it's like two branches and you have like two people trying to pull it apart and see what's a bigger branch. You know what I'm talking about?
Are you referring to once you've eaten a turkey?
No. Why? But it feels like that's what I'm not eating trees or anything, but that's what's happening inside these games. It's just two teams getting into that sticky situation, literally, and then just pulling at it. There's not that much strats involved. We're not seeing crazy pinches. It's so last minute as well. It's just chaos.
You're talking about like a Christmas cracker, really. Trying to pull on each end, see who gets the party hat, and it's never me. And clearly, I wasn't cheating in glove sheet either, unfortunately.
You put party hats inside the cracker? How does that work? Because I haven't done that either.
Never.
No. Do you get like a party hat as a prize, or is it inside the Christmas
inside.
cracker? There's a hat in. Pretty useful to have long nails, though, right? There's always a circumstance.
But if you have long nails, you won't get the nail clippers. You'll get like a notebook that's like 2 inches wide and 3 pages. It's just useful.
True. Take some notes about personal hygiene, pretty much. That moment, right?
I should cut my nails.
Fast Kylie, okay, what is wrong with this team right now? Because when I think about this name, I'm saying, maybe day 2, day 1, they qualify. If not through the pop-off, through the consistency. I always call Fast Roki kind of like the invisible demon. You never see how he gets all the way towards the finals, but he ends up there. I can visibly see this man shining every single day. Right now, also shining in the wrong way.
I agree with you on that, right? And I feel like a lot of this is because as a team, it's always on the south side of the map. They've been landing on the rock and some of the condo. They landed in condo today. They've been a bit all over the place. And I feel like that not finding a home has just left them a little bit uncomfortable here. I'm still thinking now that they're back in condo, they have the whole thing uncontested. Like, this is where they started off their FNCS journey, that this could be them in a comfortable spot, right? And you'd think with the south zone, this should favor them. But looking ahead, they're 168 below.
Have to try to find some damage. 94 above now. screen moments ago. It all comes down to Nate, right? If he is playing very well on the day, that duo graduates. They get to go to the finals. Snazy solidified in there. One of the best you've ever seen in the world, or sometimes just mediocre.
Yeah, we'll see which mood he's in today. Has he put in the work? Has he practiced? You know, Nate is a player who's typically, you know, not been a hard worker, but some people out there would suggest that he could be one of the best players in the world as a fragger, hands down, because his game is absolutely unbelievable if he just sat down, put in the work for it. You know, he is the previous champion from Chapter 2 season. He enjoyed the then play. And I want to see him work out. I want to see him on the same level of being an incredible player.
For the format as well, we do have, like, what? 11-ish teams rolling in overall in terms of looking at, you know, the new in terms of how things look overall. It's like, I think it's 7 total that are actually run through, but we'll do the math. And it's like, for some reason, man, it's like someone's school is absolutely atrocious. And there are a bunch of new teams coming in. Snazy and Nate are one of them. There are a bunch who this is kind of, you know, their first rodeo. You mentioned Rotary as well. And with Control, it's looking good. They're walking in too. For a lot of other teams, it's going to be the same old structures and issues. It's going to be a combination of both and you for access right there. First day, and also one of the teams running in. They'll have a little bit more experience. 6 games in total.
And one of those teams we're seeing, and exactly that huge contestation of spawn clearly didn't pay off. They weren't able to capitalize on the fact that there were 3 other teams there. And maybe we're going to see in the next couple games, these guys are starting to get into a couple more fights. On the right-hand screen, you're seeing Cruel and Kane, the team who's been here. I mean, through it all with us all weekend. Yeah, again, also struggling with Surge. Now going down into the engagement. They're hitting Kane on the cancel. Tons of materials left to play, but not enough damage. The strategies not there today. I don't think as many teams can test them off spawn and cover.
Cruel had the launch pads as well. One of the conditions for them to go straight through. That's 2 pads down to that team right below them. I believe that's Skyzoo. Actually, that's Crazy and Rafa that are bullying them right above. And if they find that body, it's going to be huge. I'm not sure if they have it just yet. They actually have no idea where Kane is either. They're just looking for the loots. Unidentified completely. They need this refresh too. For Crazy and Rafa specifically, we watched them a little bit. Also, we already talked about it. They're also one of those, I believe, day 1 teams, and they've been struggling. But this might be the game. 2 pads next to you somewhere. A chance to just bounce up and go the whole distance. But that side of the zone is also looking completely weak. You look at the left, look at Jetta, look at Vasroki. They're looking healthy. Every single inventory slot filled up, and also way closer to the zone.
I want to see this be their time to shine. I'm not sure if they do have a launch pad on spawn, though. This is the time you want to be using that first move in zone, and they are set up in such a good position in terms of their verticality, their lair to open up as well. We do see the Pepper coming out on here. A bunch of players on the left side hitting the launch pad. Now's the time to Pepper. Now's the time to see where things get moving. Storm Surge, no issue at all, so this has to be a good game for Mindra and Flois.
This is their redemption arc right now. They do hit that pad, not blocked. Looking for Andretta. Flow should be right behind him. Everyone already just immediately building up. The server so clogged, 50 players rolling in. That's maximum capacity. Andretta now down. I mean, he'll always take damage. I feel like that's his trademark. Every time right before the landing, and Flow will find him too. Fastwoki Kali, one of the last to fly. Chulex up there too. They actually re-hit the pad. That will be huge. They're basically skipping an entire zone. Look at that timer, 20 seconds. And they're still in the sky. They haven't used a single material for this entire zone race.
That's lucky because they barely have any to work with. Only Wood now down left onto Vasroki. This means that the first move in zone is going to have to be a one where they get into some engagements. Look for those refreshes. Vasroki on the left trying to go for it. As we see on the right side, Kane goes down there too. Now also 47 below the Storm Surge. But there's so many players at the back of the zone, but they're being controlled. No, and he's going to go down. It's just...
of the line here, Reese. He needs to find something as Chulex and Chico, who's back in the game, are alive and at high ground.
We also saw Flois there going for the high ground. He was one of the players in that piece at the start of the show that said high ground's easy, but it doesn't seem so easy for him quite yet. As we move back over to Kylie, who's getting the whole focus of the lobby right now. Sprayed onto his wood wall, down left 3 builds, and he's going to have to try and get out there. The shot's connected to him from above, but he has no shotgun to work with.
This is going to be tough, even on the front side of the zone towards the bottom. Go-Go's and Gilius back and forth over and over again. No one has control of what actually low ground looks like. Chulix, though, and Chico finally finding a little bit of space. 3 different layers between them and Bevies down below. It's going to be really good for them to hold on to, but I know there's going to be some surprises. Gilius going down on the left. Relvis also trying to go for a few clutches. Chico is putting down the pressure down below, but here comes that retake potential. Moving, trying to go for it, trying to gain some control of the game, but no, Chico Chulix too strong. Look at the investment, though. Only 4 materials on Chico. With all in, need a refresh.
There's no actual play from us all. They have nothing to work with. Some teams almost think they're going to try and take the high ground as they go back to the low. Clement down with no builds. 1 elimination to his name. 44 HP down the shields, but can he hit anything? Can he work with? Can he get an angle? He's playing so slow. He's playing so sneaky. Slippery, but no, it's over for Clement.
He gets taken out. That's Kaizen coming in from the left side, and he's also trying to make his... They get one of the trays on the left side. Looking for the confirmation on the solo towards the right. Bevy's down. See if they land the shot. Chulix is now getting close and personal too. They must be out of materials, and so is Nyzen. They have to get Boofink here. They're looking for a few shots. He does rattle him down, but he chooses to stay with his teammate. Work with that synergy. 2 guns for the price of 1. That's what I'm talking about. Boofink is now down. It's all up. The Chico and Chulix up above, but they've got no match. It's a final brawl. The showdown comes through. Chulix. 1v1 Nyzen. It's towards the backside. Left side, right hand peek is not enough. The Salsa King Chico knows how to dance. That's what I'm talking about. He has the angles, and he has the VR.
That's the one. The 1v1 clutch up back of the zone. The shots mattered. Everyone had 0 builds, almost 0 ammo, but 100% game connected right there. For Chico Chulix, that is massive. Obviously already being an FMCS champion a couple seasons back. And now Chico, this is the first time for him making it through. And these guys have had a great season so far. I mean, a fantastic season as a duo so far. It's looking good.
It's looking stylish, my friend. That was a stealthy win. We don't get to see that too often. All they did is build up a little bit, shot a few shots, and then we watched Chico dance. That's what I like to see, and they're going straight to the finals.
Yeah, Rosie knows Chulix home when he won the FMCS and the high split. Interestingly enough, the FMCS dual playing on the road and still managed to pick up victories. So that it's a little bit of a change up from what we're normally used to seeing from them.
Yeah, but what changed? What stayed the same? A lot more for game 1 to break down with Zeke Levin and Sundown.
Thank you guys so much. Great game number 1. This comes down to 2 duos that have been here since session 1. This talked about at the top of the show, Sundown. It's a brand new day, but could this experience from day 1 have helped kind of both these teams make it in that top 2?
I think the experience definitely helps. One of the biggest things is actually being able to win those top 2s. You see, they're a little bit different from all of the just trying to go back and use any of the excess materials that were there, but maybe even a little bit of a miss like Nyzen not going immediately for that siphon and get the drop mats from there. Let's take a look though at the victory route, because it really just came out, Levin, because of their high ground control. Not a whole lot of eliminations till the very end.
Yeah, see, you're talking about experience, but you know, like Reese said, you know, this is very different to what they've been doing in these past couple of sessions, right? And maybe that is where they...
Eliminations, right? I mean, it is kind of weird, Levin, going from 2 to then like looking at almost 7, which would for them would have been 9. It's not traditional, right? Like, we're so used to seeing these high ground teams win. Even like, I would say like the lowest we've seen is like probably 4, but to just get 2, I guess Levin, you get the two that matter, right? You get the two that matter, you get yourself a trip to the finals.
Yeah, look, Kaizen and Yazen, they'll be all right? 52-point game, that's a massive game. You have to remember, although they didn't get the victory out, like, this is good in terms of being on that leaderboard, in terms of, you know, being consistent, trying to be here at the end of the last 6 games. I think, though, if they're able to set up a refreshes the way they did in this game and consistently do that in end games, sooner or later they will get their victory right out.
Well, that's kind of how it works, right? If the team on high ground isn't pressuring, isn't picking up elims, there's just more for whoever ends up winning in that kind of a low ground scrum. And that went down to Nyson and his duo. Nyson in particular was the one who was finding a lot of those shots and giving his team an opportunity to win the game. And everyone's just kind of holding on, right? They want that victory out, but we got 6 games to play through. Well, 5 now.
5 now, right? And I think for them, right, they did come in second, and it's still like a confidence boost, right? They're like, yo, we're on it now. We're fired up. We almost got the victory out. We're close. We just have to keep pushing. Just run it back exactly the way we did, right? So, once again, another big congratulations. Chico, Trulex, you guys found yourselves a seat on the battle bus heading on to finals. But remember, victory out will auto-qualify a team, but we're still looking at these standings. The top 6 will make it on through as well. Kaizen and Yaisen, after their first performance, they're up there in that #1 spot. Other teams, though, Krusty, White Senna, Raid, good. And I mean, how are we feeling about just the initial, I want to say like this first game, right? I don't like to use this as a test or a feeler, but thoughts on this maybe first initial game, Levin?
Well, for a long time, nobody wanted to actually go down, right? Everybody was trying to stay in this one. A couple teams here, you know, Stena, Raid, for example, maybe you would have thought in a couple a bit earlier from the other sessions, maybe, but ultimately, Sundown, these standards will change a lot. And like, in terms of who's in that top 6, right, it is going to get very chaotic in terms of that first game went. So I'm not going to read into anything just yet, right? Maybe after game 3, ask me again, Zeke, and I'll give you a bit more into, like, you know, spoiler alerts as to who will qualify. But for now, I'm keeping my cards close to my chest.
But one of the things I always look like when we're looking at that leaderboard is what do the points look like in 6th place? And currently in 6th place was a duo that I actually wanted to talk about a little bit yesterday, didn't get the opportunity to, was Till and Julian Common. Till's actually been having a really solid season, kind of sneakily. We've seen him in nearly every important EU lobby going through there. And they did this kind of back-to-back duo for there. But so far, 32 points in 6th place. The general base of the regions that have been broadcast has been right around kind of 25 to 26 points in those 5-game sessions, so they're just above that. But also our first place is double that pace, so they're going to feel pretty good about it.
Till won the first cash cup of the season, right? And I think from there, right, it was signs that he is, you know, sort of putting himself in a position where he is going to start getting a bit more respect, but you have to deliver now. If you don't make it to the FNCS finals, you know, what are we doing in at that point, right? So huge couple of games coming up for them.
That's right, boys. I mean, look, sub-5, right? Again, game 1 is quickly for tester. You know, let's check everything. Let's check the routes, let's check the duos, let's check our setting. Now the competition begins. Okay, game 2 is going to be very different. We may still see a lot of duos remaining, but as far as action, we're going to turn it up a notch. So let's get back over with our casters and preach. It's Shy Wager. This is game number 2.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you, Levin. Thank you, Sundown. Game number 1 is set. Great feeler out to figure out. We saw a lot of the top teams, a lot of the teams that we thought would go through, kind of go down a little bit early, struggle with the surge. That was probably one of the most stacked games that we've ever seen in EU history. And I'm wondering, do you think game 2 is going to be the same?
I think that theme definitely crosses over towards game 2, and even from the early to late game. It's a game of survival now, Reese, right? No one is dominating anyone else. There's some people just picking up the scraps left and right, rationing eliminations 24/7. I feel like it's a completely different Fortnite. And this season, the finals either. It's a very special treat for the last day of semis.
Yeah, everyone's looking for the win at the same time. Like I mentioned in that first game, they're just trying to make their first FNCS files. The nerves, I think that first game, I mean, it kicked them into overdrive a little bit, where they're going to be a little bit more comfortable now. They know the lay of the land. They know where the teams are around them. They know who's contesting. They know where they can land to take advantage of that. So I think, you know what, 12 minutes before, like, we saw Wolfie and J-Mock go down, or J-Mac go down, that was like so deep into that game, and it was only team number 48. So it's like super stacked.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're talking about the lay of the land. I feel like it's also been the same from day 1 to day 3. Rocky reels, desert, desert, desert. sun, sun, sand, sand. I want to see some mountainous snow. You know what I'm saying? I want to go all the way up to Logjam Lumberyard. I want to see exactly what the north is looking like. I think we have like 2 games there in total. But speaking of 2 games, game number 2 is live now. Let's jump right in and see where we land from that. This team has disappeared off the island. This is the first time I'm looking at the spot, like at least this early in the games. Completely uncontested.
I mean, this spot has literally been contested. Qualifier 1, Qualifier 2, Semis Day 1, Semis Day 2, and now this is the first time I've seen it uncon. So you're very, very correct in saying that.
It's wild, man. I'm used to watching a crazy fight go into like a 2v1 that's not supposed to be close at all. And then it just happens again. But already 3 duos going down a very different game. Snazy and Nate, we talked about, yo, let's get these guys online. Okay, Silk, he's going to become a trapeze artist, it looks like. A little bit of circusry going on right there. I like it. Stylish, but he probably doesn't like it as much as Snazy does. A free elimination, that team will be basically having to get a card that's all the way up in the sky.
Ooh, this is important. No, this is not what we saw last game. We saw Mixon obviously going down to Surge, really strong out because they didn't get into any of these engagements right now. But hold on, he's piecing up Skyzoo right now. You're trying to make him think second about getting that knock. I'm thinking this was a knock outside of Sky. That's potentially going to be the finish coming down. No, not yet. Jog's now trying to go in as well. Trying to hit the shots that he can. This is such an awkward fight to try and box up on the stairs. The big shots connect and it's over. So Skyzoo and Jogs now it's going to be, I think both eliminations go in their favor as well. 2 straight off the bat, cleaned out their side of Tilted Towers already. Already such a different game from game number 1.
Absolutely. I'm seeing 1 less sniper shot in Skyzoo's inventory as well, so I'm wondering if maybe that was, you know, the start to all this. Maybe a very well-placed shot right before in the sky, maybe even, or when it was landing. Could be a highlight reel, but we'll tune it in just a second. Still a pretty stacked game, because usually, what, 86, 85 players, but at this point, it's still 91. We saw that first echelon of, you know, 10 players, 6 players going down in the lobby, and this is with 1 less team playing overall as well, right? 1 team qualified, the lobby will be automatically smaller, but it's still looking just as